Fans, a very good evening to you. Now, I am guessing, yes, that you are angry about this call from Julius Malema. I want to know how angry. Tell me exactly how you're feeling about this evening.
Look, I think one is upset. I wouldn't describe the feeling as anger. You know, we've been in this game for some time, and you know, it's really a sense of loss and a sense of how unfortunate all of this is. At the outset, you know, we're very proud of our independence as amaBhungane. We bear no grudge to the EFF or to its followers, but we do have a very serious problem with when politicians, Julius Malema included, stoke hate, possible violence against journalists, and when they really start undermining the basis for democratic debate by cutting off journalists, essentially saying that only certain journalists can be spoken to, others not.
Stefan, have you seen any sort of backlash from this? Have you seen any sort of threats against you emanating since he made this call? It was yesterday. Have you seen anybody threaten your life in any way? Have you received anything like that? And on the other hand, what kind of support have you received as journalists as well?
Look, I think what one immediately sees after something like this is the usual, you know, kind of the loudening of hate speech online. And, you know, typical was a tweet where someone shows a street scene and says, mug amaBhungane. And then all of the usual kind of tech and you name it. I don't think this makes us feel particularly comfortable. But as journalists, I guess we're also kind of starting to grow used to that. Our real concern is when and if that might start translating into real world.
Yeah, and I mean, that was my question, and I asked it to Sanef's Kate Skinner earlier as well, to be told or to be referred to as the enemy, saying to others that you should be treated as the enemy, journalists like yourself and those from the Daily Maverick and Scorpio as well, and knowing what we know or seeing what we saw happen to certain female journalists not too long ago and what resulted from calls like that about, you know, sentiment expressed about them. You obviously are not feeling, you are feeling threatened, I would imagine. You are feeling a little unsafe and unsettled at the moment. But knowing the caliber of journalist you are, I would also assume this will not stop you from doing your job.
Look, I think that again, it's a feeling of sadness and loss. We've never been diverted by this kind of thing, and I certainly hope other journalists won't either. We sent questions to the EFF a week ago. They have yet to reply to them. It might be clearer to us now why they have not replied. But, you know, we're working on a story relating to some very, very serious allegations against, amongst others, leaders in the EFF. And I hope that your viewers will be out there looking at that which we will present fairly and independently and accurately to the public next week.
And I suppose it's good to always make that clear, as much as everybody knows the rules of journalism, to make it clear that when you run a story and you are running some kind of expose or serious allegations against anyone, you know, not just the EFF, they always ask to respond. They always ask for, you know, this is what's being said about you. What do you have to say about it? You would never run a story without trying to get some kind of explanation from the other side.
There's certainly our professional obligation. Under the rules of journalism, there are very, very few instances under which you would not approach someone for comment prior to publication. So that is a matter of pride for us. And I think it's a disservice to the public, and it's a disservice that the EFF does itself when it does not respond to allegations, to serious allegations, when we give them the opportunity to comment as we have.
And Stefan, I know that Sanef, very quickly, I know that Sanef is having a meeting about this tomorrow. What are you guys, as amaBhungane and your colleagues from Daily Maverick and Scorpio as well, what are you planning to do? Have you spoken about this with one another? What's your next move?
Look, we have discussed it with our lawyers. I do believe that at the Daily Maverick and Scorpio, they have done the same. So one does look at all options. But I think as amaBhungane, our approach is one to try and seek solutions. Of course, there is also the question of what the wider media does. What Mr. Malema has done here is really to take a leaf out of Donald Trump's book. That Trump has banned journalists from the White House. He's tried to cut them off. Only last Saturday, I think he tweeted that 2 Washington Post journalists should not even be allowed on the grounds of the White House. So that's the typical kind of thing. What some journalists in the US have also done in response to this is to say, well, if he does not allow some of us, he won't see any of us. So that ultimately does become a tool for the rest of the media possibly to consider, but we may still be some way off.
Well, thanks very much for that, amaBhungane Stephan's Brummer, and that's one of the publications that Julius Malema is asking or wants to be banned from attending any of his party's events. They run massive stories and serious stories about the party.